There are 6 major economic shifts happening. Some of them are happening right now, others are going to happen in the near future or a little bit more distant future. Either way, there's major changes to the economy right now that are happening. The future will look unrecognizable 5 years from now. Here are the 6 shifts that I'm watching. We're going from the dollar to the CBDC, that's digital money. The BRICS currency is going to emerge. Real estate is going to shift from climbing in price to declining. And you've got the expansion of the economy. It's going to turn around and become a recession, a contraction of the economy. These positive markets that we've been seeing for such a long time now are going to start coming down into a bear market. And we're going to be going from a long, extended time of peace to a time of war.
When you click the like button, you help yourself and people just like us.
When I say we're going from our current paper dollar to a digital dollar, it's a matter of time. Nothing can stop an idea whose time has come. We're going to go digital for sure. But as you know, I've told you many times, it's going to be the end of your financial autonomy. And I've said so many things that are negative that could happen from the network of the digital dollar. Things that can happen to control you like a bunch of marionettes. And you're tired of me talking about it, so here's 5 articles agreeing with what I'm saying, telling you the same thing. The digital dollar will be the death of your autonomy. Meanwhile, another big monetary shift is that the US dollar has gone from being the apex predator among all the currencies to now there's another fish in the tank, and it's a big one. The BRICS currencies, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and now Iran, Egypt, Ethiopia, and the United Arab Emirates so far, and they're going to continue to expand. They're trying to de-dollarize, get away from the US dollar's dominance, hegemony. They're trying to get their own currency. They're backing it by gold, so therefore it's actual money because it's backed by actual money as opposed to nothing, as most currencies, as all currencies are. Right now, the BRICS countries, and there's going to be more of them, they encompass about 30% of the world's surface area, and they account for about 45% of the world's population. When you've got that many people, they can decide what the world's reserve currency is. They can use whatever they want. They're not choosing, they're actually actively choosing to not use the US dollar anymore. That's going to shift a lot of major things in the economy. We're going to see real estate going from climbing higher in price to going lower in price. It's going to shift from a seller's market to a buyer's market. With that, you'll start to get a wealth effect reversal, which will then in turn affect other things. When you have a lower wealth effect, you feel less wealthy because the price of your house is declining. You might be more inclined to do things such as sell your cryptocurrencies, sell your stocks, for example. Maybe not. But when you lose a wealth effect, you start changing your social buying behaviors. This is from the Bank of International Settlements. This is the U.S. residential property prices. This is the U.S. Shiller Home Price Index from Standard & Poor's. And you should be looking at more important things that'll give you warning signs, leading indicators, such as the number of days a house is on the market when it goes for sale. And this is from the StLouis Federal Reserve, the monthly supply of new houses. Or you can look at the months of the inventory of new houses. This is from YCharts, U.S. existing home months supply, 4.1. It's climbing as the market weakens. If this gets down below 2, that's a frenzied market. If it gets above 5, that's a buyer's market, and the higher this number gets, the more supply there is, the more pressure against rising house prices, pushing them lower. It's when these leading indicators start turning. So for example, something like how many people cut their price to try and get the sale to go through. You watch that sort of stuff, and that will always warn you or lead you into what are the major shifts in the market. The real estate market will start coming down strongly because you see these leading indicators weakening ahead of time. And that's when you start to get the bigger declines. And if you remember, it wasn't that long ago that there's a lot of pressure on builders to build new homes because the prices of everything had gone up so much, specifically lumber. Do you remember when lumber was so expensive? Here's a chart of lumber prices now. They've come down so much. This is from Trading Economics. We're also going to be going into a recession, as I've told you many times. A lot of people got this one wrong. We all thought it was going to show up about a year ago. It still hasn't happened. There's arguments that maybe we're in one right now. We'll get to one, and I've been telling you this for years, actually. When we get to this next recession, which could become a depression, because we're falling from such a higher point. When we get to this next recession, it will be so unmistakably clearly obvious to everyone that they can't manipulate the way that they define a recession. They can't gaslight you and tell you that it's not a recession. It will be obviously clearly unmistakable. But there was a tremendous amount of governmental market manipulation. They've created more money. They've been jawboning nonstop about how strong the economy is. If you look at certain things, you could say it's strong. But if you look at the reality of all the factors of the economy, is incredibly weak. We're living off of debt. I've told you this.
The Peter Leeds newsletter is one of the most popular financial publications of all time.
But all these artificial influences on the markets, anything artificial is temporary. You can only keep the volleyball lofted for so long. We're going to go from economic expansion to economic contraction. And it starts showing up in things like when you look at leading indicators, just like I was talking about with real estate. Look at trucking. You can see as that is under pressure, or copper prices. All of this shows a slowing of the economy. Not just trucking, but it also shows up in bankruptcies or personal debt loads or, delinquency rates or total tax revenues. As the recession rolls in and people lose their jobs, the economy is under more pressure, there's less tax that gets paid. So the government gets lower tax revenues, where we already can only pay off half our expenses with the tax revenues we bring in. Those revenues will be lower. We're going to be going from positive markets that we've seen for so long to bear markets. A lot of monetary shifts are going on. There's a lot of weakness even in some of the high-flying stocks that I've been warning you guys to get out of for a while. Things like Nvidia have come down, a lot of NASDAQ stocks. But I believe that both the Buffett indicator and the Q ratio's prophecies will be revealed and play out as they always do. The Buffett indicator has recently hit a record high. The Q ratio is also well above the warning zone. The Q ratio looks at all the stocks and compares it to the cost to replace all the assets of those stocks. The Buffett indicator indicates overvaluation. That's tremendously negative. All of this with a lot of other things too. These are just two of the main ones. They're all indicating that the potential downside for the stock market is incredibly significant. And watch what happens when people start losing the wealth effect on the real estate. Or it goes in the other order. Maybe the stock market comes down first and then people start selling their houses for lower prices. There's more inventory of homes. Stocks have been jawboned and manipulated higher for so long. It's going to come back to haunt us. Look at historical price earnings ratios. We're in concerning territory right now. Another major economic and absolutely significant event is that we're going to be going from a period of military dominance and no major wars to one of war. Because if you're thinking that Israel is not going to wind up getting into some kind of altercation, then you're mistaken. And when they do, they cannot survive against 7 fronts of enemies, talking about Yemen, Iran, Syria, Iraq. They won't be able to withstand all of that unless they use their neutron bombs, wiping out entire populations without destroying the buildings, or they're going to need American help. And we absolutely will be dragged into this war, just as Netanyahu has hoped for us to be since the beginning. But I'll let you look into it that so many things are going to change when we get into more military conflict, which seems to be going exactly as I told you about how it was going to go since October 8th. This is more of a tumultuous time than any time in the history of your life or my life. It's very tentative right now. And if you want to stay on top of it and you want to keep watching these videos, just subscribe to the channel. But if you want direct email contact with me, ask me anything you want, anytime you want, and keep us sponsorship free. You'll notice we don't have any advertisements. We don't have any sponsors. Nobody tells us what to do. If you want to support all of that, support the channel, just become a Peter Leeds Insider. PeterLeeds.com/insiders.